Hey Fit Fam, it's Coach Rye from Team Flex. Today we're going to get in and compare some more of our Wellness Olympia athletes to Isa, our wellness champion, and just kind of go over really the criteria, the standard, what judges are looking for, what they're not looking for, and how that is all relevant for you as a competitor out there wanting to compete in wellness division. And this will be very good information for you no matter your level. You could literally never have compete before. You could already be a pro, and you're going to get insight into what you should be trying to do to perfect your wellness look, okay? And that's what we do on this channel, you guys. And this was actually a fan suggestion, right? Somebody watching the channel commented, say, hey, please compare more athletes to Isa, and I'm doing the video. So anytime you guys get ideas, things you want to see, comment it. I do go back and I make those videos when I can. So definitely make sure that you're doing that and you're subscribed along, hanging out with me too. So here is Isa. She's our wellness champion, okay? She went and took the title this year. And, you know, we're not going to go too much into her specific look exactly, but just to recap, you can always go watch my old videos, but just to recap where she's at now, right? Basically, very, very good lower body dominant look for Isa, and that is exactly what wellness division is all about. You'll notice that she's got great glute development, great hamstring, great quad, and the crazy thing about all this, right, is it's a lot of muscle, but it also is very symmetrical, and that's what judges are really looking for in wellness division. Symmetry between the quads to the glutes to the hamstring, so on and so forth, and the asymmetry up top. Like, she has one of the least dominant upper bodies in the wellness division. Still has a little bit of that shoulder, but again, it's the least dominant. We'll see that as we go through the lineup. She's also the wellness champion. So again, the more disproportionate you can get, the better. And that's really how she ends up taking the cake here at the Olympia. Very narrow waist. Again, another look for judges. They want to see this V-tapered look. They want to see right down here, a lot of dominance going on, and that is wellness. And we'll see that in her front and in her back when we get there momentarily. But let's take a look over here at Lisa. So this is Lisa. She's our 6th place finisher at Olympia. Great physique, you know, just outside the top 5. Still a good example of criteria. However, for her, I mean, I think we can see some clear differences. You know, a lot more shoulders going on here, a lot more upper body happening for Lisa, and that's a factor that, you know, is not placing her in that top 5, I think. I think it makes it just too dominant of an upper body look. She does have a very nice, you know, waist taper. The lat looks a little big here too, though, honestly, in my opinion. So we're just getting a little bit too much upper body. She looks kind of symmetrical to her lower body. She has great lower body structure, though. A lot of glute development, a lot of hamstring, a lot of quad. She is a tad bit leaner, I would say, too, right? We can see that really in her abs and in her quads and a little bit into the hamstring and everything here when we get to the back. So I think her being leaner also becomes, you know, this point where it can be an issue. Let's look from the back with Isa, though, compared to Lisa in this sense. And, you know, this is where we really can see, okay, tad tighter for sure, right? She's got a little bit more of this hamstring coming through, a little bit more of the tie-in showing through. This is a little bit leaner. So again, judges saying, nope, don't get as lean, don't be as big in the upper body, and don't be as lean. But really very, very good physique for her, very competitive, you know, really good quad sweeps from the back. Everything's there, great glute shape. Overall, everything is there. She's just a little bit too dominant upper body and maybe a tad too lean, right? So I think that's the factor for her, but very, very good competitive physique. Could easily move up into the top 5 and beyond if she makes those changes, right? So let's move now to our 7th place finisher, Rayanne, right? So I had Rayanne in my top 5 predictions. She's taken 7th, so around there. This is not the best version of her that we've seen in any recent time. She kind of came in a bit off, and again, I'm seeing some posing things. I would just change with so many of these wellness athletes at this point. I'm not sure what is going on with a lot of the posing right now, but it is definitely not favoring many athletes. Rayanne, I think, included, right? She looks very blocky, in my opinion, right? A lot of rectangular shape, very up and down, not like Isa, who has this dramatic V taper. You know, we're just not getting that as much here, right? If we even drew those lines, it's a very squared shape compared to what we're talking about over here with Isa's shape, okay? So again, it's, you know, maybe some posing tweaks, but also she does just carry a ton of muscle. She's very, very built in that sense. A lot of glute size, a lot of hamstring, a lot of quad, and you know, it doesn't necessarily look lower body dominant for her though. She's got a lot of muscle there. She's got a lot of muscle up top. I mean, we can see in the bicep and the tricep, this is a lot of muscle going on here. So for her, a little bit too symmetrical, maybe too much muscle. Did not really come in at the right conditioning either per se. Could have been just a tad tighter, but it's just how it looks because of the muscle she carries. She carries so much extra muscle, right? And we see this from the back too. This is where we get a disproportionate kind of front to back. So from the front, she looks very, you know, muscled out, very dominant in that sense. And then we get to the back and we lose that 3D effect of the glutes. So her upper glute needs a little bit of work, more size overall in the glutes. So really what we're seeing in that front, again, is some posing stuff that could have been improved. And maybe her back pose needs to be adjusted a bit. But, you know, we also see her back pose in general looks much softer, right, than her front did. So she looks very, very kind of hard here, getting to the point where it's a little bit, okay, you can start seeing some splits in the quads and things of this nature, a little bit leaner, and then you get, you know, a softer look in the back. That's not favorable. Judges are not going to want to see that. She still is obviously in top 10 because she's got great size, great symmetry, great proportion, but really you want to nail your conditioning front to back. You want to make sure your muscles do look, you know, symmetrical front to back as well. I think people lose that. They don't realize that, you know, your glutes in your front pose should be noticed, but they should also be noticed in your back pose in the same type of way. Not like, oh, that looks dramatically different than what we saw in front, okay? So now let's move down the list a little bit more. We're going to Lely. Okay, so Lely has continued to, you know, make a mark for herself in wellness division. She's taking 12th here at this point. So Lely, in my opinion, came in much too lean. That's right out the gate. What you will notice, right? She's got a lot of different lines going on, just a lot more striations, even in the forearms and other things. I mean, this is an indicator she looks a little bit stringy, a little bit depleted, in my opinion. She could have probably pushed a little bit more fullness. Also, though, a little bit too dominant of a muscle look in the upper body, not necessarily so much in the shoulders, right? Because she does have a good disproportionate glute and hamstring quad shape. It's really more like her traps. Like, you know, she's just got some big traps, a lot of muscle density up there. That does throw off your symmetry, folks. You don't want to be, you know, if you're one of those athletes that are training shoulders, but you train in traps all the time, and I'm not saying that's her case, but there's a lot of you out there that have that problem. You will get to the point where your traps are taking over too much and it throws off your symmetry, especially in the sport of bodybuilding and in the wellness division. So definitely want to make sure that's something you correct. For her, though, I think really it's just too stringy of a look. It's not as full as it could be. If she had pushed her food a little bit differently, maybe even in peak week, it could have favored her different. But we get to the back and it tells the whole story again. Very depleted look for Lely here, right? Her glutes look almost flat. You can tell she has a great shape. Everything's there, and all this. Quads are popping from the back, but very depleted look, just not full. And when I say fullness, you guys, I know this gets confusing, right? You hear judges talk about this or coaches talk about this. What that really means is how the muscle presents itself, right? In this 3D type of an effect. So when we look at Isa, we see upper glute, we see overall glute, we see kind of this three-dimensionality of those muscles. That's the fullness. So in other words, that's, you know, that muscle pushing out on the skin, creating that depth. And Lely does not have that to that degree. She does have good development. I don't think it's necessarily a development issue. It could have been just honestly that she's too depleted, tried to chase conditioning too much, came in too lean, and thus here she is, right, taking 12th. So definitely think if she just filled out some more, she would have placed higher at this Olympia. Now let's move down the line a bit. We're moving into our, you know, no longer in the top 16 competitors. So at Olympia, we've talked about this on other videos. They stopped counting at 16. All competitors after that are just, you know, when you look at the scorecards, when you look at the website, you'll see 16, 16, 16, 16. So really only the top 16 is scored 100%. Everybody else just falls into the after 16. So this is where we are here with Juliana now. So looking at Juliana, very symmetrical look for me from this right away. Okay, Isa again, very lower body dominance. Like you look over at Isa and you see, okay, glutes, hamstrings, quads. When you look over here at Juliana, you see upper body, a little bit of V-taper, some lats, lower body, yes, but symmetry. So a little bit too symmetrical, right? And I think that's how she moves down. Her shoulders kind of end up matching a little bit too much. She does have a nice V-tapered look. Conditioning was also just not really on point here as much as it could have been. She looks softer. We're not even really getting a lot of oblique line, which is not, you know, very indicative that she was on point with that conditioning, right? And you can almost see a little bit of body fat potentially in her lower abdomen. These are all things judges will notice and score on. When we look to the back, though, okay, This is a very symmetrical back pose look, very, very symmetrical. Upper body is almost taking more here. And again, this is a time when I would say the posing just looks incorrect to me. It looks off, right? Like if I was posing Juliana, I would have told her to widen her stance up a bit and, you know, kind of arch a little bit more and lean a little bit forward even in that sense to kind of downsize her upper body in that look. But this is just not what we're seeing here. This is a very symmetrical kind of look where the shoulders kind of match the glutes. This is not what they want in wellness division, right? They want to see the lower body dominance. They want to see that your upper body looks smaller in back pose especially. So for her, you know, that's the thing. It does look like her conditioning is a bit tighter in the back, and that's, again, you know, conditioning discrepancy like we talked about, not an ideal thing. So a little softer from the front and tighter from the back. Either way, the posing could have been improved, I think, and either way, a little bit too symmetrical for Juliana. Now we're going to move down again into the line here. Again, someone, Natasha, who placed somewhere outside the top 16. Now, what we see here with Natasha is, again, very, very symmetrical look, but also not as much muscle. So you guys, as we start to look, hopefully that's what the point of these videos are, by the way, right? I'm trying to teach you guys criteria, trying to help you understand more. Hopefully you start seeing as we go, okay, obvious, right? This is obvious. Oh, that needs to be improved, right? I'm trying to teach you all this so that you can go forth and do better as a competitor. But basically what you start to see here is this is a very symmetrical look for Natasha. Does not have the lower body dominance as much. You know, this is almost much more an hourglass type of look. It does look slightly heavier in the lower body than it does in bikini, but this is a very bikini-esque physique, if you ask me, at least in this front pose, okay? So I would say for her, more lower body dominance. Her upper body, I don't actually think is in a bad spot shape-wise or development-wise. It's just her lower body is not at that same level, so that's an area that needs to come up. And we see that down here as well, right? And this is where we do see inklings of, okay, wellness into the quads, that sweep from the back, but you can tell with the hamstrings and the tie-in and the glutes, these are just not as developed and they're not bringing the dominance from the back pose. They need a lot more, especially when we put her up next to Isa, right? That depth, that 3D, that size, it just is not there. So again, that's a major, major focus for all you wellness athletes out there. You got to really attain this lower body dominance. Now, again, last one we're going to look at for now. And you guys, if you want another one of these videos, you can even comment competitors' names. If you have specific ones from Olympia you want me to go through, I've done a good amount of them now, but there's a lot in the wellness division. If you want another video comparing this, you want more looking at this, comment that down below or even throw people's names in. I'll bring it up, bring it to another video for you guys. But here is Sandra. Okay, so Sandra, again, placing somewhere outside of this top 16. For her, posing, again, right out the gate, I have to say posing. I just keep saying it with a lot of wellness athletes this year. I'm not sure why, and maybe it's because it's a newer division, right, and people are still getting their groove. I mean, we've got some years now at this point, but there's new athletes coming up all the time, getting into the Olympia, so on and so forth. I think a lot of people are playing with a lot of different looks, but, you know, you really got to nail your posing, especially at this level if you want, you know, to be winning or doing top 5 or anything like that. And that's even how Fran, in my opinion, kind of, you know, fell from the throne in this sense, and Isa did not because she nailed her posing, right? So just to say, you know, really be focusing on your posing. Now, physique-wise for Sandra, what I see, you know, is again, a little bit of an upper body dominant look here. I do think this is mostly posing. Her abs are squared off. It's a rectangular type of look for her. It's not a dramatic V-taper like we see with Isa that is lower body dominant. So major factor you want to be paying attention to. Great muscle shape, great overall size, good symmetry in the lower body here. Honestly, I think if she tweaked her posing, probably could have placed much, much higher and maybe just took down her shoulders just a tad. That probably would have favored her well. She seems to be pretty on par with condition, but you know, we shouldn't speak too much before we go to the back. And this is, again, where we always see the full story. So very good look from the front. Not as tough of a look from the back from Sandra here. She needs more upper glute, more overall glute, more just depth to the glutes, but good quad and hamstring shape. Honestly, this is a good spot for her to be in. She just needs to kind of get a little bit more of that fullness in the glute and get that pop there. And this is a good back pose. So, you know, her front pose, little bit not as dialed in, but her back pose, here it is, right? So That's a major factor, you guys. You want to make sure you're strong from all positions, all poses, and you're hitting all those. So again, just comparing some more athletes to Isa, give you a better insight. Hopefully all of you watching are like, okay, this is opening my eyes. When you go look in the mirror, when you go do your check-ins, when you go do whatever you're doing to see where you're at, hopefully you start applying some of these things. That's what I do on this channel, right? I teach you guys the things that are going to make you better on stage. So if you're new here, subscribe. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like this, more competitors compared to Isa, comment that, even put names if you want, or any other video ideas you have, I will do them, all right? Thank you for watching. Coach Rye is out.